And one of the most interesting insights coming out of this report was the incredible mismatch between what buyers want and what managers are teaching the reps and what managers are prioritizing.
LinkedIn's Alyssa Merwin shares how leadership development has a direct impact on sales quotas. Stay tuned. According to Deloitte, American companies lose productivity worth $300 billion a year due to disengaged employees. Welcome to The Forecast. I'm Molly St. Louis, and today we're going to talk about how leadership development is one of the most critical investments sales leaders can make to maximize engagement and sales quotas. In that same study by Deloitte, research found that opportunities for growth, such as leadership development, is one of the major drivers of employee engagement. And Gallup reports that companies with engaged employees see a 20% increase in sales and a 21% increase in profitability. The benefits of leadership development are certainly compelling, but it's only worth the investment if it's done right. And that's why we have LinkedIn's VP of Sales Solutions, Alyssa Merwin, here today to walk us through the important steps of building programs that build leaders. Great to see you here on The Forecast, Alyssa. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Molly. It's great to be here. I'm really excited to be participating today.
There is so much I could pick your brain about, but you wanted to focus our discussion on leadership development. Why is that critical for sales success?
There's so much research out there that talks about how important a leader's impact is on the well-being and the engagement of their team. And in fact, there was a great statistic that I just came across from Ken Blanchard that shared that companies are probably losing on average $1 million of lost productivity because of disengaged employees. And so when you think about forecasting and running successful sales organizations, it all starts with our people. There's nothing more detrimental to a forecast than open headcount.
Sure, that makes sense. And it sounds like you really take a people-centric approach to your leadership development philosophy.
I think there's something that we've done in particular that's been really powerful. And so we created this program called Empower, which was a homegrown program, and it was really focused on how do we help each member of our team, so at the rep level and at the leader level, to really live up to their full potential. We saw a 100% increase in the levels of trust from where we started prior to this session to after the teams had gone through these sessions. We saw a 500% increase in the reps' appreciation of their strengths and their development opportunities, a 300% increase in their ability to get feedback from their team members, and 121% increase in their comfort and ability to feel safe within their teams and to voice their opinions. And these are all the things when we talk about, lost productivity, lack of engagement, it's because people don't feel safe at work. They don't feel like they can show up as their true selves. So I think that these are all the elements that we work on the whole person. We create a safe space and environment for them to feel supported, for us to be able to have real and raw conversations about development areas. And these conversations allowed people to get really vulnerable, to share, what was it about their upbringing that might be sort of manifesting or showing up and how they show up at work. Oftentimes it's imposter syndrome is one of the biggest issues that holds us back. We don't think we're enough. We think we're going to get found out. And so we put on these, this face, and we put on this sort of tough exterior, and we aren't willing to have the uncomfortable conversations. In conversations with customers and prospects, we don't want to get found out that we don't know everything, so we don't ask the deep, tough questions. We don't want to ask the questions we might get an answer to that we don't know how to respond to. So I think there are all of these dynamics that are at play. And really, at the end of the day, I think it often comes back to there's a lot of imposter syndrome out there. And I think male or female, it is, everyone's feeling a version of it, or most people are.
What should managers be prioritizing as they develop their people?
Well, I'll tell you, we just published a report that we called the State of Sales of 2020, and we surveyed about 10,000 leaders from across the globe. And one of the most interesting insights coming out of this report was the incredible mismatch between what buyers want and what managers are teaching the reps and what managers are prioritizing. And so, I'll give you an example. Would be one of the top things that managers believe is most important would be relationship building. Now, of course, intuitively, that makes sense. Relationships are important, especially in a sales process. But the number one thing that customers and buyers want is great active listening and problem solving. Active listening was number one on the customers, and it was number 7 on the list of things that managers are focusing on. And so if you think about relationship building, at its essence can't really happen unless you're building trust and you're doing it through great active listening and problem solving. And so I think that we need to make sure that our managers are putting themselves in the shoes of the buyer and really understanding what are the skills that are required in order to be showing up to solve problems, to understand the problem, first of all, and then solve the problem, second of all.
We've been having a lot of conversations lately about what it means to bring our true selves to work. And we actually have a special guest here today to talk not only about that, but also how diversity impacts revenue teams. Derica Blackman, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Molly. Thanks so much for having me. This is such an important topic. And when we think about problem solving, we think about having lots of different people at the table with different backgrounds and experiences. So this is important. So when we talk about diversity, we kind of don't always know what we mean. So I like to give a metaphor to help people understand the continuum of possibility. Diversity, we like to say, is being invited to the dance. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Belonging is being able to dance how you want, and equity is having a turn picking a DJ. Now, what do we mean by that? You want a diverse team. You want to make sure you get people who are different at the dance. That's what makes a great party, right? But just because you get people there doesn't mean they're included. This is when we talk about opportunity. Who's getting a mentor? Who's getting a juicy assignment? Who's getting promoted? This is how people stay. Just because you get them in the door, right? You're going to be able to solve the problem of getting people in, but you're going to have a new problem. Can you get them to stay? But when you put people together as a team, you've got to allow them to bring their difference to the team. You can't say, well, you can only dance if you dance like everyone else here, right? That's usually what happens. We say you get a place at the team if you fit, or you have the executive presence of everybody who's already here. Equity is a different thing. It means people getting paid the same and sharing power. And that's important because the business case is about how turnover costs, how creativity gives you a 19% increase in innovation revenue. Check out the Boston Consulting Group's work on that. So you want to have both the business case, the personal case, why it matters to you, but the ethical case that we're going to change the environment where only certain people have access to opportunity. And this is going to make us better problem solvers, stronger teams, which we know always pays off.
Thank you, Derica. Now, Alyssa, we're almost out of time, but I do have one important final question for you. What is your forecast for the future of leadership development?
Well, there's no question that everyone is an insight seller today, and any industry, whether you're in global accounts and you have, constantly were on the road before and in the field and face-to-face with customers, or you were, an inside sales team, we are all inside and remote sellers. And I think that it's not just leadership development that we're having to rethink, but it's how are we rethinking our entire go-to-market? And I think that what we're finding and what we're seeing not only with our own sales team, with our customers is that there's a shift happening in the market. And that shift is, we were often starting to get accustomed to really tailored experiences. We were moving away from this idea of generic, mass email campaigns or mass outreach that's not personalized at all. And I think none of us have any energy for anything that's generic today. What we're really seeing though, in terms of the companies that are separating themselves from everywhere else, is a shift to a much more acute focus on putting the buyer at the center of the relationship. And so we're seeing a real shift in the companies that are showing up today in this virtual environment that are doing really, really well. They're really starting to put the buyer at the center of the conversation. And sometimes that means walking away from the conversation if you're not the best provider to help solve the problem. And there's a whole bunch of other elements that we're seeing, but I'll leave you with that as a starting point. I think it's a really big shift that is going to be a powerful one for our industry. And I think it's not going to go away even once we go back to the office.
Sales leadership development isn't just a nice to have. It is a must do. Many, many thanks to Alyssa and Derica for their insights, and to all of you for watching. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, stay healthy, stay focused, and stay connected.